College students' perceptions on satisfaction of different age supervisors. Emily Spranger, Joe Watt, Drew Benson, Caitlin Cohen, and Alicia Rodriguez. The purpose of this study is to garner a better understanding of how college-age students interact with managerial staff that are older than they are, as well as managerial staff that are the same age as they are at their respective workplaces. The hypothesis states that because the reliability factor between young employees and their young bosses is so high, due mainly to shared generational context, that these two groups will have a better working relationship. Conversely, younger employees tend to view older bosses in more of a parental light, stigmatizing the workplace relationship with typical adult-child interaction scheme. More specifically, in order to ensure the overall quality of the experiment, a between-subject design was implemented so that the efficacy of the testing and duplication would not be an issue.
Research precedents. According to Bozic, 2007, students are heavily influenced by the employment decisions that they make during their undergraduate education. Bozic pretends those undergraduates who do not hold part-time employment during their crucial undergraduate years tend to be less employable in the professional job market. Further, as Bozic illustrates throughout this study, students who hold employment during their undergraduate years of college tend to acquire essential communication as well as direction-based instruction, which is intrinsically involved with many forms of professional employment. To give more research context behind this experiment, it is fitting to look at a study conducted by Curtis and Williams in 2002. In this study, the two researchers advanced the idea that those undergraduates who happen to be a part of Generation Y are reluctant to take up employment in college. Not only, as Curtis and Williams argue, does this resistance devalue the degree that these students are pursuing, but it also augments to the dynamic of separation of communication venues that are not being shared by younger employees and older managers. To be sure, according to Broadridge and Swanson in 2005, the difference between being successful in a collegiate setting and failing can be something as simple as holding part-time employment. Broadridge and Swanson illustrated the fact when college-age students hold down part-time jobs, they are better able to prioritize tasks as well as their communication exposure medium is much higher, benefiting them in the long run. Broadridge and Swanson also addressed the fact that younger employees are becoming increasingly more detached from their older managers, with the technological chasm that exists between the old and young increasing every year. Cultural differences arise as a result. This is another factor in why relational balances between younger employees and younger managers is so high.
As was stated in the abstract, the hypothesis that this study has set out to prove surrounds the validity of the claim set forth by the creators of the study that the younger employees perceive a greater working relationship with their younger bosses than said workers have with their older managers. The control groups in this are clear. The independent variable is constituted by younger employees. The dependent variable is comprised of the younger managers as well as the older managers. As was aforementioned, the between subjects design was utilized so that both test groups, those younger employees working with younger managers and younger employees working with older managers, can be completely assessed. The aim of this study is to advance the researchers' hypothesis, which claims that because shared generational culture exists between managers and employees of a younger demographic, a more lucrative working relationship will transpire. Further, and in opposition to the previous statement, the hypothesis also aims to draw the causality between the deficit in generational networks that exist between those employees of a younger demographic and their older managers in relation to the worker-manager relationship shortfalls.
Our specific hypothesis is that given identical vignettes about a supervisor, college-age students will rate a younger supervisor as more fair than an older supervisor. In this survey-based experiment, our independent variable is the stated age of the supervisor, which was 25 for the young supervisor and 55 for the old supervisor, categories respectively in the description in the given vignette. The rest of the description in both groups was identical. The participants for this experiment were recruited by using a snowball sampling technique in which the researchers send out a link for the research survey to friends and fellow classmates via social networks such as Facebook, Twitter, and email. Over the course of a few weeks, the survey accrued 79 participants, although only 65 participants completed the survey, and therefore 14 participants were eliminated. Because a majority of the participants were of college age, having been friends and classmates of the researchers, the hypothesis fits the population sample. Voluntary participants were given a link to participate in a short survey, taking on average no longer than 2 minutes. Participants were randomly assigned to either the old supervisor or young supervisor category and then asked to read a short description of a supervisor that read, Rory, aged either 25 or 55, is a strict but fair supervisor at a local coffee shop. He feels that a comfortable atmosphere for the customers is crucial for a healthy business, but he lacks the skills to keep his employees comfortable at work. For example, when one of his employees messes up a drink order, Rory is very calm in front of the customer and offers them a new coffee on the house. After the incident, Rory asks the employee in question to the workroom and then yells at them for not doing their job correctly. When you have finished reading, please continue. Participants were then asked to rate that supervisor across 4 5-point Likert scale questions, which were adapted from the Global Perceptions of Intergenerational Communications, or GPIC scale, developed by McCann and Giles in 2005. This scale uses some items that parallel the 41-item scale developed by Harwood and Williams in 1998, but McCann and Giles in 2005 found it necessary to develop a new scale because of the uniqueness of their study. Once the 4 questions were completed, participants were then done with the survey.
Results. To test the hypothesis that college students who work part-time will rate a younger supervisor about the age of 25 higher than an older supervisor about the age of 55, an independent samples t-test was conducted. The results indicated that college students rate a younger supervisor about the same way as an older supervisor. Thus, our hypothesis is not supported.
Summary of the results. The results of this study found that there is not a significant differences between how college students view a younger supervisor versus an older supervisor based on the same description. While there was a small difference in the sample means in favor of the younger supervisor, it was not enough of a difference to be statistically significant. Implications. Based on the fact that our hypothesis was not supported and the null hypothesis was shown to be correct, our study shows that college-age students do not view supervisors any differently based on age. Our study does not imply that factors do influence perceptions of supervisors, but we do show that age is not the primary factor. Limitations of the results. Our research was limited in a number of ways. Due to the low number of participants, it is hard to say that the results are representative of the larger population of college students. We also did not collect demographic data, limiting the information we can draw on when making conclusions. Our research may also be limited by the descriptions of the supervisors that were given as age was measured only shortly and may have not made the differences in age apparent enough. Participants in this survey may have skimmed over or missed the age of the supervisor and judge them on the larger context of the vignette. Our future research. Our research does not leave room for a great deal of expansion, such as looking into how the interaction may differ in different scenarios like industrial factory settings or restaurant food service settings. Our research could also be expanded upon by investigating how employees who are older than their supervisor view their younger supervisors. Our research could also be expanded by examining the variables ways different age groups perceive their work with supervisors or subordinates of very different ages from themselves.
In conclusion, although our hypothesis was not supported, we were able to gather useful data on the way college students derive their perceptions of their supervisors. This project has been a useful and informative process that has been a wonderful application of what we have covered in this COME 2010 course.